Okay, mate, welcome back. Degen Talk, episode 5. As always, we're still not sponsored by anyone, so if anyone wants to give us a bunch of money to put their name in the corner here, we've got a few hundred views for you at least. So,
would you take Binance at the moment as a sponsor?
We'll get onto that, but yeah, fuck it. We may as well take a bit of cash off them before they go down, you know.
Fuck you know.
No, I'm only joking. I'm joking to a degree.
Kind of not.
Yeah, we'll see if we're joking or not. But yeah, first of all, mate, how are you?
Not bad. Yeah, all right. I think. Well, every day seems pretty stressful at the minute, I think. But it's getting pretty quiet now. Rolling up to Christmas. Gonna take a good week off trading and everything else. Will be quite nice. Just looking forward to it, I think.
Yeah, same. A little bit of a break. As you can tell, it most certainly is winter here in the UK. Got my scarf on at the desk. Sailor told us we'd be at 100k by now, so we're leaving the heating off for a bit. But yeah, man. So today, what we're kind of looking at, what we're going to run through.
We've got SBF. We've got some of the Binance drama. Some talk about USDT as well. And then just kind of go through a bit of a market update, I think. Kind of give people our thoughts and expectations for next year, really.
Yeah, I think, like I say, we've got some pretty big stories which seem to have just dominated this year. A lot of it not really crypto-related and most of it drama-related. So,
do you know what I keep thinking about? In your, sorry to cut you off, but your scarf, you look like the guy out of Good Will Hunting, the psychiatrist.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, and the other guy as well, I think. The other guy in there, the other psychologist wears like a scarf permanently.
Okay, well, we're going to have to meme that somewhere, aren't we, boy?
You look like you should be running the halls of Harvard and...
fresh out of Hogwarts or something.
Yeah, definitely that kind of vibe going on, yeah.
I was going to put my hat on, so just be it's fortunate that we haven't, but...
Yeah. But what do you want to do first? Just do SBF? That was quite a big one.
Yeah, let's get into SBF because, it's been a drama that's been running on for a few episodes and several weeks now and has pretty much dominated all financial news and, yeah, pretty insane.
It was good to see his face. His little kind of evil little smirk that he did in that interview the other day, but it was good to see his face in handcuffs.
Yeah, for sure, when he was getting led out of the building. Didn't quite think it was going to happen. Again, it was a bit of a surprise. The timing, which we'll get onto, is a bit of a suspicious one, but wasn't too sure if he was even going to end up in cuffs, so it is nice to see.
Yeah, I guess just before we get onto the arrest, like the whole... leading up to that, the whole talking to almost every time I logged onto Twitter, you'd see Spaces going on with like 15, 20,000 people in an SBF's name there, and like literally for like 2 or 3 weeks straight, just constantly putting his message out that it was just an error. He didn't do anything malicious.
Yeah, it's just, you could tell, absolute rubbish more or less, but I think. As you said, he did several of these. A lot of them were kind of a shit show as well. And he's saying not a whole lot about nothing, to be honest, from any that I've seen.
Yeah, anytime he got like seriously challenged on something, he would like say, "Oh, I need to go," or just drop off. But yeah, it's putting everything down to it being an accounting error is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on the timing of the arrest then?
Well,
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's obviously suspicious. So SBF was obviously due to appear in front of Congress, wasn't he, on the 13th? So 3 days ago now from when we're recording, he was due to, spill the beans on FTX. Like you said, he's been saying a lot on Spaces. He's been saying a lot to kind of non-official people. He was about to go under oath and really give his side of the story to obviously the whole of Congress. And then he got arrested the day before on the 12th of December. So, yeah, the timing seems suspicious. The reasons for it are kind of unknown, but we know, don't we, that he was very much intertwined with Gensler, a lot of Democratic Party, obviously, donations and stuff. So it does feel like someone's like, whoa, hold your horses here. Let's speak to ourselves first before you go and spill the beans in front of everyone, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely just felt like, you know, that lady, whatever her name is it like something Waterson?
Yeah, the
From
senator.
Congress. Yeah, the senator
Yeah.
put out the message, didn't she, saying, it's been great to hear you, so publicly speaking about this, Sam. Credit to you there. And then said, come into Congress on the 13th for the hearing. We want you there. And yeah, on the 12th. Well, he refused, didn't he? He first went back and said, "No, I don't think I'm going to have."
It's like, you know what, I'm all right. Like, I'll give that one a miss. Actually, I've got the dentist.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it was like, yeah, sorry, I've got a dentist appointment that day. I don't have. I also don't really have any of the information to hand at the moment, so still just trying to piece it together. And then she came back, didn't she? Kind of like, no, mate, like, we kind of need you there. Like, the first invite was just me being polite.
Yeah, that's what it
and
was.
then he's arrested. I was reading that he's arrested in the Bahamas as well. That's important to know. And I was reading that he could be held in the Bahamas correctional facility till like the 8th of February.
Wow, really?
So I almost feel like it was too convenient that he was arrested that day.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. It's there's a few people that have been speaking on it, but this is kind of the arrest is amazing. A lot of people are celebrating it, but you can't help but feel like, does he want to be arrested at this point? Like, we could have had him tied down to whatever he would have said in front of Congress, or at least on record under oath. And yeah, it feels suspicious.
Like, why hasn't he been shipped to the US yet? Is my kind of thinking. Why? What would be the reason for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Bahamas. Exactly. It's almost like the Bahamas haven't got reason to really keep him that much more, because he let most or almost everyone in the Bahamas become whole when the thing was going down, didn't he? So
yeah,
I'm almost a little bit like, well, what's the reason? If he gets extradited very soon, then fair play. Then I'll maybe there is something right going on. But until that happens, I'm just a little bit.
Yeah, the warrant itself did kind of explicitly say, well, maybe not the warrant, sorry, but I think it aired to that he would be extradited, whether they follow through with it or not. The charges are pretty damn serious, aren't they? I think it's wire fraud, money laundering, and just a bunch of securities frauds, which obviously the US take as if you're a mass murderer. And
oh man, I read 100. It was like 115 years max sentence for that. And Bernie Madoff got pretty sure he's in jail for like 500 years or something.
Yeah, no, I think it was 150, but he was like 75 at the time anyway. So
yeah, I'd hope that he gets something similar. To be honest, we spoke about this, didn't we? Do you think he deserves life in prison?
Do you know what? It's a really difficult one, because, like we were speaking about it, the collateral damage from what he's done, probably yes, i.e. people losing everything, maybe even taking their own lives, etc. off the back of it. When you look at it from that angle, yes. But it's also quite a dangerous precedent. I thought 150 years for Bernie Madoff felt a bit excessive. Again, it's the US, isn't it, that they take this stuff very seriously, any serious financial crime. Do I think he should get life in prison? I wouldn't want to see him spend his entire days in prison or whatever. I would much prefer him to do 15 years or something, be excluded from any sort of financial markets for the rest of his life, and at least do something to maybe make people whole or close to. I suppose it depends how much he puts forward when all the dust settles. Does he still have 100 million in a random wallet somewhere or not? And is he going to give it back or not?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I personally don't think he should get life. But I don't know if that's just because I didn't lose anything on FTX. Like, I think if I was sat here
Yeah,
and I'd lost everything,
it would
I
be a completely different story, wouldn't it?
I probably would be thinking like that. I think 15 to 20 years for me would suffice, because that's a huge chunk of your life, isn't it? Really, like I feel like punishment fits the crime there.
Yeah,
Yeah, for me it'd be that, and definitely stripped of all assets. You know, everything liquidated, and as much as possibly humanly possible given back to the creditors. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Who do you think rolled on him in the end? I think there was obviously pictures of Caroline outside the attorney's office in New York and stuff. Do you think Caroline's basically just been bullied into a corner and rolled?
well, maybe someone had to. Yeah, I did read there was obviously it was an insider of sorts. Didn't get any sort of thingy off it. I don't know why. I'd be quite surprised it was Caroline, unless they already had a bunch on her and they were kind of like, "Well, you're going to really get it if you don't if you don't give us the head of the snake kind of thing."
I don't know if it's true, but I heard that they had like a WhatsApp group called, or like a Signal group that was, the title of the group was Wire Fraud. And her being part of it, and I personally think that they've found her and they've been like, right, this is what we've got on you. It's probably well over 20, 30 years in prison, like the rest of your life. Give us all the information, tell us how to, decode this massive web of bullshit. How does it all
Yeah,
work? Give us all that information. Because without someone on the inside unpacking this as a normie, especially, you're like, fuck, there's so much to it. So probably just reduces the amount of time to research that by 100x. So
yeah,
taking it from like 2 or 3 years down to 2 or 3 weeks. So I think they found her and said, look, this is your option. You either make this deal now, or we've got 2 or 3 other employees that we can go after, and if they do a deal with us, then
yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
suck.
enjoy 50 years wherever we put you or whatever. Yeah, I think so. And just on what you were saying there, the complexity of this to a normie or even to a maybe traditional financial regulator, how do you explain yield farming dog coins on 4 different blockchains? Do you know what I mean? That's where that's where FTX had their assets, was spread across unlocked, unliquid, completely random leverage. Like you say, it would take years for them to uncover it. I just hope it comes to a proper resolution and they get the just results. Do I think people are going to be made whole? I wouldn't be surprised if no one got anything back. Like, I think it's almost dead in the water.
No. Well, thinking about Mt. Gox, I think we got, or are due to get, 25 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
And that they managed to recover a substantial amount of Bitcoin from the hack. But in this situation, it just, especially when we don't know what happened to the 600 odd million that went on Sunday. We don't know about that yet. What was that?
That soon went quiet actually on that. I didn't hear anymore. Everyone's just assuming that that person who, or the individual, is like the 30th biggest ETH holder ever now. Because they converted everything to ETH. They're like the 30th biggest individual holder or something. And like you say, that's got to be someone on the inside. Allegedly, we don't know. But
it feels like that. It definitely does feel like that. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to it. One thing I've got written down in my notes here is I've seen that Sam's obviously trying to see if he can start a new business, because he wants to try and create another business to then make everyone whole at FTX, to try and right the wrongs he's done.
Who is investing in the seed round of that? Maybe as a Degen punt, I even would, but
see, I knew you'd say that. I was going to say, would you invest? And I was thinking, yeah, I'd probably punt a few $1,000 on that.
for sure, just in case he comes up with a bigger Ponzi, which he can get out of a bit sooner. Yeah, that's pretty insane. While we're here, actually, I've got the clip of SBF getting arrested. Let's just take a quick look at it.
Some serious firepower going on there.
I know, look at that. Which one's SBF?
Look at that collar out. One of his collars out.
Damn. The cuffs feel good. Yeah, so that was him being arrested in the Bahamas. They've got some serious firepower in the Bahamas.
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably all funded by FTX, to be
I was going to say, yeah. So yeah, that was him actually getting arrested. So it did happen. But yeah, it's good to see. As horrible as that is to say, actually, there's not many times that you wish ill on people, but I think he warranted it in this one.
Absolutely. It's just the fact that he's been so vocal as well has just pissed everyone off, I think. Just trying to swing the court of public opinion. Yeah, get out.
So that was him anyway. So I think from there we have a lot. We saw FTX go down. We then saw all of the other smaller exchanges get liquidity runs on them because everyone was shitting themselves. The one who you thought was kind of untouchable or the king on top of the mountain was Binance. But in recent days, we've even seen them come under a hell of a lot of scrutiny, FUD potentially, and again, some mass withdrawals on them as well. I don't know if you thought about it much deeper. We'll go through each of the individual bits as well. Yeah.
It's a really tough one, man. They put out... Okay, like, speaking just bluntly in absolutes, I don't think Binance is solvent.
Wow, really? Yeah.
No, I just don't. They put out the proof of reserves. There was obviously issues there. Too much of it locked up in their own token. Got BNB, BUSD.
Yep.
There's certain things that are happening at the moment which I just don't feel comfortable with, and we've seen it. We've been able to see it twice now, live in the moment. We had Do Kwon. Now we've had SBF. And the patterns of behaviour and the way it's all kind of happened has been quite the same.
Shockingly similar, I would say. Suzu as well. Suzu with 3 Hours Capital as well. The three amigos all fell this year,
Yeah, it's all been very similar in terms of the way it's happened, the way it transpired, and the behaviour from those individuals while it's the leading up to it has been all eerily similar. And I'm just seeing the same thing from Binance. And yeah, there's a few specific things which I don't like. The audit company that put the proof of reserves, that did the audit for the proof of reserves, have taken it off the website today. I don't know if you saw that.
Did see that, yeah. And even that audit in itself was suspect. Well, not suspect, but it was not a financial audit that you'd come to expect. It was excuse me. It was a predetermined set of criteria set by Binance audit, wasn't it? So
was it right?
Okay. Yeah. So it was like, check this, and this from this firm, and even they said that they even said in there, I think when they published it before it's obviously been taken down, that so it was Mazars, that they would not express an opinion or assurance conclusion. So in other words, we're not giving them the thumbs up.
Okay. Who are Mazars as well? How do you spell that?
Mazars. So they were obviously the auditing firm that did it. And yeah, it was, I think, a little less thorough.
They are a big, audit firm. Fair enough. I can't speak to Mazars, however you pronounce it. I don't know why, but I'd have liked to have seen like a top four firm, like a Deloitte. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It just would have made me feel a little bit better. But these, 42,000 employees over 90 countries, 1.9 billion in revenue in 2020. They look big.
Yeah.
I don't know though. It just there's when I work with clients, you went, IT clients, you went for one of the big four firms, even though they were like 2 or 3 times more expensive. You went with them just because of the name, and that
Yeah.
was it. I'd have loved to have seen that, but we didn't get that. These still look reputable, but I don't know much about them. But they did take it off the website, which is concerning. And if
Yeah.
you're saying that it was a preset criteria that was done by Binance, then that just makes me even more concerned, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't the only things that came out either. They had, again, you've got to be careful in crypto because FUD is a powerful drug, right? It can sweep up the market, it can sweep up sentiment pretty quickly. But there was a few things in a few days. There was obviously this audit which seemed less than conclusive, if not slightly avoiding the matter at hand. They halted USDC withdrawals, and then they mentioned that this is something to do with the bank. I think they're back up now, but again, that kind of adds to it. There was even money laundering accusations. Or wasn't the Department of Justice or the SEC, like there was an announcement that they were going to look at them for that as well. So it did all feel quite coordinated, but you can't help but feel, there's no smoke without fire with this kind of stuff. So
That's right. Yeah. And I guess, let's go through the hallmark signs that we've seen, because I think they are important to call out, because it's been the same every single time.
Yeah.
I've got 5 bits of criteria here which send alarm bells.
Send it Mazars right now. Let's audit them on these.
There's 5 sets of criteria which freak me out, and I guess what they are. You can probably, I guarantee you'll know what 1 or 2 of them are.
I think so. Public kind of, I think CZ putting himself out, or maybe the head of it in terms of their reaction, would be one that I would look at.
What do you mean? Explain that.
I think you look at what's leadership doing would probably be one. What's the leadership's reaction to it? Go on, run them through us for us. Let's have them.
You kind of got one. So the first one was, I just had a nice little trading view alert ping off there. The first one was God complex.
Okay, yeah.
So we obviously saw that with Do Kwon. He was like the extreme of that, wasn't he? He was like that was his biggest one. Die will die by my hand. It's great to see a project go illiquid and insolvent. No one can, your size is not size. Just that whole God complex is a really, really bad thing. And you saw it a bit with SBF on the lead up, when he was getting a bit snarky with a few people online, especially CZ.
Yeah.
You're Chinese, so you can't come to Washington type stuff.
Showing billions, almost showing off their buys, the billions of FTT buys, like that was clear as day. You saw it with Suzu and 3 Arrows Capital with like the Zupa cycle, and how he was constantly tweeting that this is the cycle to end all cycles, and how he was some sort of prophet that was bringing that down from Satoshi himself or whatever. So yeah, God complex is definitely there. And then looking at CZ, we're seeing, what you think, we're seeing some of that?
Well, you tell me. I think I think shortly after the FTX collapse, that started to come out a bit more. It wasn't at all really before that, but after that happened, there was a few tweets. I'm trying to think of the specific tweets off the top of my head now. can you think of them? There were some that were like, fucking hell, what are you doing here?
Well, I think even starting with, I think it started with when he took FTX down. So like the tweets that he outed them with. The funny thing about CZ is before the last 2 months, he was not an interesting guy to follow on Binance because he was effectively an announcement pusher. He just pushed the announcement. Like that was fine though, because, you know, you're the head of the company and you know, no one man should be bigger than the business, which wasn't the case with all these other ones. That's where they kind of got a bit out of turn. But ever since, Easy has just been talking a lot. He's got an opinion on everything. You know, you could tell him what the best curtains are to have in winter months, and I'm sure he'd have a fucking answer for you at the moment. Like it's
well that leads into my second piece of criteria. So that the first one was God complex. You know, the second one was a change in behavior or attitude, and that's definitely been evident with CZ, like 100%. And then the third one was more talking. I feel like I feel like they come alive on social media, don't they? When things are going awry, to try and sway opinion, try and keep control and keep things contained without them fucking spilling over till it's beyond repair.
I still with on that as well. Even joking, like there's still, like they use a bit of humor. It's like trying to connect with the audience. Like I've seen that Kramer said something about Binance, and you know CZ's having a bit of interaction there. But we said it was if you were truly fine, the biggest dick thing in terms of the most gangster thing you can do is say very little and let Binance do it and let it play out. You know, you don't need to shore up your position because you're so sure of it already. That's kind of where the uncomfortableness comes from, is because you feel like there's a bit of projection over maybe a bit of substance, but it's hard to know. It really is.
Yeah, I almost think of it as like the inverse of when a big hedge fund's got a huge short position on something and they want to let the market know that they've got a huge short position because it gets the rest of the market like, oh, why have they got a big short position? And then everyone starts looking into it and everyone's like, oh shit, yeah, I'll short that as well. And then everyone and then it just gets shorted down to the ground. So it's like the inverse of that, where he's like, everything's fine, you know, it's all good, like no problems, you know, doing interviews on CNBC, doing interviews everywhere, left, right, and center. It's just feels like he's trying to stop the bleeding. And like you said, yeah, the biggest dick thing you could do, the most calming thing you could do is just not say anything.
And just let it play out. Yeah. You know, as well, just on it, because he started having opinions on how all exchanges should run and how, you know, how everything needs to be. And it just becomes a little bit like, just stick to Binance only. I would rather you almost be the Binance puppet rather than trying to go off and, you know, tell us all how to save crypto or whatever a little bit.
Yeah, I actually tweeted him the other day from our Send It account, actually just saying, mate, shut the fuck up. Like, just all I want you to focus on is strengthening Binance, like, as a business. I don't want to see you or hear you in a public debate about being solvent. Like, there's just so that's a huge concern. You know, the final two, so the other one is weird on-chain activity, and I think we got that the other day, and and I'm pointing specifically to a transaction where they claimed that they were switching a load of assets over from like Tron network to something else. I didn't even, to be honest, mate, I didn't even have to read what they were claiming it to be. I just had to see that, you know, a few $1 billion had been minted at Tether Treasury and sent over to Binance.
Yeah.
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
You know, clips of like 500 million, you know, 6 or 7 of them just all one after the other and then sent over to Binance. It was like $2 or $3 billion. And I was just like, that's just something not right. That's weird. That's weird on-chain activity. Anyway.
Yeah. It seems bizarre because they have shown these wallets where they have 50 billion plus in cold storage and, you know, 300,000 bitcoins in cold storage or whatever, which again, this is where I'm a little bit torn on Binance. Are they like they do have these on-chain wallets, and it's like, it's nowhere near the same kettle of fish as FTX, where they didn't even have cold wallets, I don't think. So I still find it hard to know. And again, they came out saying they've got no debt, so you almost kind of feel like, where would the liabilities be for them not to be able to cover what they have? This is what makes it so. But you would have said the same thing about FTX going into it, even with or without, and you don't know what these exchanges are doing on the back end. So it's difficult to really know.
Yeah, and for any normal person, like any normal person, even like the highly intelligent auditor that's used to looking at these types of businesses and transactions and can kind of go through the whole thing, it's just really complicated. And without really seeing the liabilities in a very black and white way, I just feel like you just don't know. You just don't know. You just don't know. It comes down to that. All that you can really observe is past trends and hallmark signs, and then compare them to today. Exactly the same as trading. And at the moment, I'd be short CZ. Like, I just would be.
And it's a real cataclysmic event, because if they do go down, we're in trouble. Like, we are in trouble as an industry.
We'll get onto that next. The final one was, which is basically the absolute nail in the coffin, is when you get a tweet that just says, "We are solvent. We've got everyone's funds covered." Like, I don't know if CZ's already said that. He's kind of has, but when the redemptions are getting super fucking thick and there's a lot happening, and you start seeing those tweets, then you're like, get the hell out.
Yeah, they did do $6 billion one day out and put $6 billion back in to look after it. Whether some of that was obviously the billions of USDT or whatever, but they had outflows of $6 billion, and they're still there. FTX were gone after 1.5, 2.
Last man standing is usually the strongest. But you saw that interview, didn't you, with CZ on Twitter with CNBC? I think it was CNBC.
Do you know what? I've got it right here. Let's watch it. I've got a 3-minute clip from it. So here he is, the man himself. Right, let's have a little listen to him, because it wasn't amazing.
We want to be transparent. We want to set the golden standard for reliability, solidness in this space.
So do it. Would you be able to handle it if somebody asked you for $2.1 billion back? Would that be okay? Would you be able to still withstand things?
We're financially okay.
Including you have $2.1 billion to give away. If somebody came to claw that back, you'd still be fine?
We'll let the lawyer handle it. We are financially strong.
She wasn't too happy about that, was she?
It's just, her face says it all. The only answer that you want to hear off the back of, could you handle $2 billion withdrawal today, is absolutely. That's $2 billion.
Which wallet? Which wallet do you want me to send it to?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Not. Our lawyers will handle it. We're financially fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unnerving, isn't it? It's a little bit unnerving.
Absolutely none of it makes me feel good.
No.
So I currently hold 0 on Binance right now. I withdrew my last little bit today.
Yeah, not financial advice. All mine came out last Sunday. I think I've maybe got $20 on there, and some absolute terrible tokens which I couldn't even move. Yeah.
So that's it. It's been the same thing every time, man. Like, with all of them, even if I deem the risk 2%, 1%, 3%, it doesn't matter if that risk is there, and I've got other options, I'll just use them.
Yeah.
Simple as.
It makes sense, particularly with crypto withdrawals. Whether you're taking cash to your bank, but at a bare minimum, if you move it into stable coins and put it into a hard wallet, you put it into a MetaMask wallet, it costs you $3 in, I think they maybe take $1 for a fee, and it costs you $3 in gas. And to save 4 or 5 figures or more for the sake of a few dollars, if all's fine in a couple of months' time, send it back, trade, do your thing, whatever. But self-custody is the be-all and end-all.
That's it. That's the kind of, I've kind of thought that, I've got a little bit of money on Qcoin that I just push around with leverage trades, but if I lost it, it wouldn't be the end of the world at all.
No.
And yeah, I don't think I'm going to be buying spot Bitcoin for the foreseeable anyway. So, why have it there?
Yeah, it's true. I'm on chain now. And like I say, I really do not think, touch wood, that Binance wouldn't be able to. I don't think we see an FTX scenario. Maybe they're not quite as clean as everyone thinks, but they've had so much capital and revenue. They've made billions and billions of dollars in revenue themselves as a company, much more than thingy. The one thing I'd hope not to see is that it is propped up completely by BNB and BUSD. As long as that's not the case and all of their assets aren't solely counted in that, I can't see it going down. But again, not financial advice.
Yeah, I'm just staying away. What happens if they did go down? What does that mean for the industry? What does that mean for the price? Where are we at if we see Binance go down? The other side of it as well, bro, is USDT. I think that I get a very weird feeling about USDT, and seeing how they've interacted with Binance recently with some of those weird on-chain transactions, I just don't like. Just not a nice feeling. Just not a nice feeling. Which I know is not very scientific, and there's no facts there. I don't have any facts, but it's just something doesn't feel right.
I think if anything that 2022's taught us is less faith, a bit more gut instinct, and above all anything is a bit of risk management. Like you can't take anyone at their word. We've seen that the biggest VC, 3AC, the biggest, upcoming project with Luna, and, the second biggest exchange have all blown up in, the same 10-month period, 6-month period even.
I kind of put it down to, very simple really, which is if you look at something like a financial system, the way it works. Like I'm not a genius, but if I can't really understand it for the life of me, then it's a massive red flag, because wherever there's, opacity, whatever you want to say it, I usually find there is problems. So, and you can say that even about the current system that we're in financially at the minute with, the global economy. It's the same thing. It's too complicated. It's too far-reaching. It's a huge web and net of so many things that are really hard to understand together. When something reaches that point of complexity, there's usually a reason for it, and it's usually not a good one. So that's where I'm at with USDT. Staying the fuck away from that. But let's kind of talk about what would happen then if both of them went down.
Well, God, I wouldn't like to think. I think it is that true. That would probably be the most critical event ever in crypto's history. Like, I think we really do see some destruction then. Even just to have your on and off ramp decimated like that would be, not only a big threat to confidence. Again, it's almost an unfathomable question, because what would the liquidation machine of Binance be if all of that started coming down? What would that cascade look like? Because it would dwarf anything that we've ever seen. You wouldn't be surprised to see fucking 3K Bitcoin all over again.
Oh mate, yeah, USDT is one thing because it's USDT is so interconnected with DeFi, interconnected with so many projects. So many projects have got it in treasury. It's everywhere. It's so deeply ingrained in the system. It's ridiculous. So if that went, yeah, you Binance would probably go. Definitely sub 10K Bitcoin. Like, almost guarantee it, can't you?
You think you'd absolutely guarantee it? I think it'd be catastrophic. Like, say, if UST went, does Binance go? If Binance goes, does USDT go? It's another question. You know, you look at the BNB chain, worth tens of billions. Every project within it worth another few billion. Like you said, every bit of collateral on chain, off chain, it would wipe out 5 years worth of work, to be honest. I think for the industry.
I'd be so angry if that went. I'd be just, oh God.
Back to BTC trading pairs only. Maybe Bitcoin would actually do all right out of it long term because everyone's like, you know what, fuck everything but Bitcoin. It's like,
that'd be the one positive thing that would come out of it. Yeah, like everyone would just switch over to Bitcoin and think, fuck all this other stuff. Like,
you can't even mess around with anything else again. But yeah, I think it'd be critical.
Binance going, yeah, like, where's your on-ramp? Qcoin, you're gonna... No. We'd have to go back to, like, local Bitcoins and start trading face-to-face.
Exactly. That would be interesting. Yeah, no, I think, like you say, I think Binance is a proxy for all centralized exchanges. Like, I feel like if Binance goes, who is doing it better, or who is going to be all right, whether they're actually a proxy or not, it's just going to get wiped.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Binance went, I think a few of the other exchanges would go as well. You know, I forget about. I really hope this doesn't fuck up now. I kind of endorse it, but Bitstamp was always a good one back in the day, and they're still here. You never hear any shit about them.
No,
probably because they're small, but at the same time, it feels like they've built a solid business, like, without doing crazy stuff.
Well, it's an interesting one. I think Bitstamp was the first exchange I bought Bitcoin off, probably from your request, obviously, a few years ago now. And you notice that they haven't had exponential growth like most of the exchanges that pop up. So they haven't probably been levering their tits, and they haven't been, going for every new mechanism and stuff like that. They're just an exchange. There's probably a little lesson there for all crypto founders, exchange founders, and the average crypto investor is, keeping your feet on the ground usually saves your ass.
Imagine how well they would do next week if Binance went and they came out and were like, right, we're doing, perps now. You can leverage, but, like you said, they haven't got this underlying business that's been poisoned with a horrific project, DeFi leveraging all over the place. Like, they would absolutely mop up. So maybe slow and steady does win the race. Kraken's another one that seems to be relatively okay, I think.
Not had any qualms from over there either. I suppose it's when you start introducing all these other projects like products like perps and stuff, you have to be capital efficient, right? To have the liquidity there. It's not just like one in, one out. You have to be a bit more mobile, and you just see these exchanges running away with that way past.
I think, the perps things, like, that's already well-researched mechanism of like, okay, you want to run, futures, perps, whatever, margin. The business has to run like this. Like, it's tried and tested for years now. Yeah, you can easily do that as a business viably, but the two that have had exponential growth are the two that have introduced their own coin. BNB, FTT, BUSD. Even the BUSD is not owned by them. Apparently, it's Paxos, whatever.
Yeah.
Again, just another complicated web of shit that I'm just like, right, okay, whatever. So yeah, there's problems, man.
Yeah. And, like, I've always been a big proponent for on-chain. I like keeping most of my stuff on-chain. I do like DEX products. They have their own issues, getting hacked every other week and stuff like that. But I think medium to long term, it does go that way. I think, people still aren't as, crypto native enough to take it on today. But I do hope it transitions into being fully on chain at some point, as best as it can, however that may be. But
shall I finish off with a bit of a market update, some thoughts on the general sort of landscape at the moment?
Yeah, give us a few minutes of it. Let's see where we're at.
Yeah. So where do you start with this? There's been an interesting shift in the last few weeks now. We've seen a slow shift from like inflation fears to now recession fears. We've seen inflation coming down moderately. Like, I must stress that, like, moderately coming down by like 0.1%. So the slightest shift down in inflation, and that's got everyone excited. But then again, at the same time, we're now kind of looking at, well, what's been the damage caused to do that? And the damage has been absolutely, horrendous for markets. Liquidity, there's nothing. Jobs are starting to really be the forefront now. We're starting to see a lot of layoffs. Housing is correcting. It is correcting. So there's been a shift just from inflation fears to recession fears. And I think that's most evident in looking at like long-term bonds. TLT have gone up exponentially over the last few weeks. And I think that is a trend that is set to continue for a good part of 2023. Powell jumped on the stage the other day and basically just said, yeah, like, you're mental if you think we're going to stop, slow down, pause. Like, we're going to keep going, try and achieve our 2% inflation goal. So they're still chasing 2%, which is mental. I actually do think that they will end up capitulating at like 3%, maybe 4%. But to me, it looks like we're going to see them over tighten into next year, break stuff, and then put the brakes on. Market will have to deal with the fallout for a little bit, and then I think a bottom will be created in 2023. But it doesn't look good. It looks really bad, to be honest. Like, it just looks really bad. There's no other way to put it.
It's an interesting one here with crypto because we're more or less at critical levels of being the time to buy Bitcoin. We're more or less there on like more or less all of the on-chain metrics, aren't we? In terms of stuff like the Knuckle indicator, like generally, we've had the death cross, and we're kind of historically a great time to buy Bitcoin is now. Yet, have we ever had a cycle with this overshadowing it? I wonder what's your take? Do you think that needs to be taken into maybe the analysis of, obviously you said it at the start of the video, looking at previous trends in history, like looking at that now, we're kind of at a Bitcoin buy area. So I'd be interested, what's kind of your take there? Do you think it's still sit on your hands and see, wait for these things to play out, DCA?
Yeah, so trying to think an easy way to describe this. So one problem at the moment with the markets, I feel, is that over the last 10 years or so, this whole huge, massive bull run we've been on in markets, people have been like psychologically conditioned so hard to buy the dip, speculation's just been so rife. I think that mindset's just been really instilled in people. And I even look at it, today, part of my analysis is I always look at what a financial YouTuber's saying, what are the plebs saying online that, have 1 million followers that absolutely know nothing about trading or financial markets, but they put videos out every day on it. What are they saying? And you can still see it now. Like one thing I hear a lot of is the worst is over. DCA, keep DCAing, keep DCAing, keep DCAing. That, term has been coined, DCA, just DCA, you'll be fine.
Yeah. It's like hodl now.
Yeah, it just feels like that. There's a really strong psychological barrier that needs to be broken within people in order for things to be okay again. Does that make sense? It's quite I've been thinking about it for quite some time, and I think that's one big problem that we have at the moment. I think you just have to. For me, I just have to think. One simple thing, which is like, no one's. Where's the liquidity? Just where is the liquidity going to come from for crypto?
Yeah.
Who's going to have money to buy it?
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, we've not kind of had this in previous bull runs and stuff. Again, I'm not going to get over greedy. I am going to, we are in a buying area for Bitcoin and whatnot, but at the same time, we usually sit in this accumulation zone for 6 months to a year, if not longer and stuff. So I'm not in a massive rush. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm in absolutely no rush. I think all I'm really wanting to do here is just wait. I need to see. I'll tell you what, really, that's what I need to see is I need to see headlines in newspapers that are like, the job market's fucked. Like, millions unemployed. Recession is here. Deep recession, depression. Like, when I start seeing those headlines come out and that shift in mentality from retail investors from like, fuck, like, I'm not buying the dip anymore.
Yeah,
that's when I'm like, right, okay, this is starting to get interesting for me. But until that psychological shift has been realized and I can see it in the market, I don't need to DCA. I don't need to.
Wait and see mode for a while.
Yeah, the whole to be honest, mate, like the whole DCA term for me is it's a way for people that don't necessarily know what they're talking about or they're not confident in what they're talking about. So you almost hide behind it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, but it's fine because you think Bitcoin's good to buy here, but you don't really know. So you're just like, yeah, just DCA. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong just DCA. Cool. Great story. I'm just not interested. So yeah, there's a lot to work out, man. Yeah, I'll be waiting.
Good job we look at it every day, right?
Good and bad, mate. I mean,
yeah, what a year.
Yeah, but it's going to be a pretty shit 2023. The only thing I've really got my eyes on in 2023 is, recession-based stocks, and that's stocks that like produce essential items. They've got a really strong balance sheet. They can control the price without going too crazy, and it's those sorts of businesses which are going to do good in 2023, like high dividend stocks. areas of FX are pretty good to trade right now as well. Lots of volatility, quite predictable moves, and long-term bonds. That's where I am in 2023.
So all the exciting ones then, really.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, we've had a solid hour. FTX, Binance, Are We Wrecked? Bit of market analysis. We'll be back again.
Let's do it. Good to speak to you.
You too, man.